Right next to the stream there, probably.
Well, that whole area there.
Yeah.
Now, when I have a box of arrowheads at home, and I've only found arrowheads 2 places in my life, and most of my arrowheads come from Frank Bear's field, and I always wondered why there was so many arrowheads down there.
Well, I got a lot of them too, and that's where they
were all
found. There, down at where we went swimming down at the
old boardwalk down there.
Well, now see, that would have been, that whole Indian village would have taken that whole, the stream and the creek.
Well, we used to go swimming. We used to walk around looking for arrowheads down there.
Well, we used to find them there, and Sam Zurfee lived in that field there too, you know.
Yeah. Well, see, there's a possibility that have been both ways. See, but the Indians were around the stream.
Yeah, the stream, the little stream entered in, ducked into the creek.
Right, that whole area was the Indian village.
Well, we used to see them holes they had in them rocks, and we used to say that's where the Indians made fires and stuff. I know we used to do that.
Yeah.
You want to take a quick break here, folks?
That's where we used to, just before you turn it off.
Yeah.
That's where we used to go swimming and skinny dipping, and there used to be a girl come there and skinny dip with us.
Well, that sounds interesting for that day and age.
When we were just so big, you know.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break here. There we're going now. What are you reading there? That's the original fire company?
Well, this is dated Salunga Fire Company meeting, May the 3rd, 1910. A meeting called to order by temporary chairman Quentin O. Reitzel.
He's a guy who was an officer in World War I.
He was a colonel in the First World War, and he retired as, I think, a brigadier general when he retired from the service. The first vice president, the president was Quentin O. Reitzel. The first vice president was Edward G. Myers, Sr. Second vice president, Had Eshelman.
That's Old Had up here.
Old Had. What was his right name?
I have no idea.
Howard again. Had Eshelman.
Well, his son's a guy.
Secretary was a guy either of you know. Bernard M. Herr.
I don't know him.
Oh, I almost didn't think you did. Treasurer was Samuel Eby, who had the store. Bender's store later on.
Wasn't John Bender's wife's name Eby?
John Bender's wife's name was...
well, that's irrelevant. Why did Bender move into Eby's store then?
He bought it.
All right, that's all I want to know. All right.
Yeah, okay. Trustees, Ara M. Herr, you know him.
Butcher. Yeah, I knew Ara.
Simon H. Heaston.
Yeah.
Dr. Jerome S. Kendi.
Our doctor, family
and
doctor.
Samuel McGurl. You don't remember him?
But he had a something shop, didn't he?
Well, he did. He was the house painter and a sign painter.
Right.
I'll tell you how good a signs he painted. Even now yet, if you look at my sign up at Way's Barber Shop, underneath, and it was sanded several times, you can see the imprint that was imprinted and like sandblasted into the sign with Sam McGurl, R.D. Raffensperger, harness maker.
Jeez.
And until this Tyson sanded it real good, when Eve Eversole painted it, it stood out like a sore thumb. You could read it just as, that's how well he painted signs. He probably painted signs for houses the same too.
Yeah.
And John F. Pfeiffer. Okay, R.D. Raffensperger. Fire
Pfeiffer
chief.
was the farmer up there we were talking about. Raffensperger's the guy that had the harness shop where you
shop.
have the barber shop.
Yeah. Fire chief was William Bill Cooper.
What's that, your uncle? Great uncle?
Great uncle.
Great uncle.
Okay.
Russell,
Assistant fire chief was Edward, I think, Edward S. Myers. Would that be Ed? Young Ed?
No.
Who was S. Myers? E.S. Myers?
I don't know. J. Myers was the young Ed. E.G. was the older one. E.J. was the younger one.
I don't know who that is.
It's supposed to be E.J. maybe. And the chief engineer was E.G. Myers. But who that E.S. Myers would be, I don't know.
Well, that S might be a J. It's supposed to be a J. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Was that so? Was
Assistant engineer, Had Esham. Meeting approved. Meeting adjourned until to meet again. Salonga, Pennsylvania, May the 10th, 1910. So there you go.
Well, I knew everybody on there except my girl.
My girl. We used to, as kids, they used to make a joke about saying my girl. But I never remember.
No, I heard about him, but never.
You know where he lived, didn't you?
Where Wilbur Heason's house is.
Where the house that they tore down and blew up half the town.
Yeah.
Easton and
I remember that Saturday morning. Almost blew me out of bed.
Time they blew up half the town. Now there was something I wanted to say here about.
Read the two paragraphs there, and I'm on that second paragraph. I mean, I'm really going to town on that second.
Bernard Herr, you guys didn't know. He was our Herr's brother. And when Bernard Herr lived in the house where Mr. Schreiber lives now, Walt Staley's.
Yeah.
Mr. Schreiber's place. Now I got to tell you about this R.D. Raffensperger bit. Not last year, but the year before, half a dozen people stopped in and came in the shop. And one asked me questions about the house and the shop. And they were people from the Raffensperger reunion. They have a reunion every year over around Dover in York County. And at length they talked about a lot of things, and then I showed them the Salonga Bicentennial book and a picture of the harness shop before I got it. So I tore the page out and gave it to them so they could get pictures printed. And the one lady was with him was named, her maiden name was Andrea Raffensperger, married to a Gannon, and they live up in Brooklyn, New York. And Andrea was Roy Raffensperger, daughter, a brother to Rube Raffensperger. And during the conversation, she said to me, she says, "Are you the guy that got fresh with me when we were about 10 years old?" I says, "It must have been." And she sends me a Christmas card and invitation to the reunion and everything ever since. She's a widow. She lives up in Brooklyn. Andrea Raffensperger.
She lived here then.
Huh?
She lived around here then.
They lived in the house where Herr lived. What did I say his name was?
Well, John Herr's brother.
Old Ira Herr's brother. Bernard Herr.
Yeah.
And Roy Raffensperger lived in that house there then. I remember Andrea real well.
Well, Ira lived over near the side of the railroad there where they had the butcher shop. John.
And John lived over there too.
Where does Bernie Herr live then?
Where Mrs. Schreiber.
Oh, where Mrs. Schreiber and Walt Staley's.
Yeah.
Tell me
Bernard Herr lived there before, and then Roy Raffensperger lived there then too.
would you have something you want to bring up there?
No, what are you going to say?
I was going to ask you about that toll house. You know where Walter Piper lived, the toll house. They moved up from down there between Slung and Lansville.
Oh, well, that was down about at Midway there.
Did you see it operate? Did you see it bring it up?
Where the pavilion is, that's where that house was. And John Mumaw was a toll keeper. Bill Mumaw's daddy, he kept toll down there. And Walter Piper bought it many years ago, and Harry Greiner moved that from there up to where it sits now there, across from Mary Cooper's, right across the street there. That was the old toll gate building. Another building that, and I don't know if Russell remembers this or not, another building that Harry Greiner moved was a barn up back of old Doc Kendrick's, and moved it out to where Bill Cooper had built the brick house that you in now. You remember a barn being there?
Well, yeah, that was a small.
Sam Hess had it then.
Yeah, it was a
you know,
small
had a little farm.
Small farm.
And Harry Griner moved that barn from up back here of old Doc Kendick's house out there. And he also moved the house that Raps Myers lived in, across from the Brethren Church there. He moved that from up back of Hers butcher shop. That was where Mel Newcomer lived before he bought the place up here in Broad Street. And Harry Griner moved that up the alley.
Old Mel Newcomer.
Old Mel Newcomer, and up the alley, and then down to where it sits now. And he moved those places and hardly broke the plaster of the wall, he used to say. And he moved it with block and tackle and about 4 or 5 inch, about 5-inch pipes. That's how he moved it, just an inch at a time.
Well, Raps Myers' house then was back there where Lutz's house was.
Right next to Lutz's.
Was it?
Yeah, up toward the butcher shop. Yeah.
Well, that alley goes back there.
I think you'd go there, you can see the foundation of the building,
Yeah,
probably.
I never knew that.
Something I just, while you're on the toll house, the main toll house is moved there, and the back end of it is up here where Dolly Wideman lives. I just found that out here a couple weeks ago.
Is that right?
You know, Dallas across from Carl Hamilton's there.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now the back end, it's the main house and then it's the back end. Well, that back end was the back end of the toll house. I just found it out the other.
Down Wademan's old house. Or down Wademan lives
now.
Well, then the next toll gate up here was up here at Chickies. Old P.D. Wademan used to take that toll gate on or about, not where, I don't think where Ramey Whaler lives, but the next house down was where old P.D. Wademan lived. And
Yeah,
that was a toll gate.
Yeah, well, when I grew up, Wademan's lived in there.
Okay.
Old Dow Wademan lived
Old
in
Dow
there.
lived
His
in there.
dad must have been the guy who was a toll
That old
gatekeeper.
P.D. Wademan. And then the next toll gate was up at Pike School, where that guy used to hunt with both hammers back in his gun. You remember? The guy had the little store, or restaurant, or something up there at the Pike School.
Well, Goody, he's probably talking about Goody there in Chickies. Is that what you're talking about?
No, up Pike School.
I don't know where Pike School is.
Well, that was almost there where.
Don't you
You remember where Kaler's farm is?
Yeah.
Up farther,
Okay,
up farther than that.
Oh.
Towards Mount Joy a little bit was Pike's School.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, that
Was that one-room schoolhouse?
toll gate up there, yeah. And there was a guy had that in the later years. I thought you would remember that when that guy used to go hunting and had a double-barrel shotgun with hammers on, and he walked through the field with both hammers back.
I don't remember that.
What the heck was his name? Do you remember?
No.
He was a toll gatekeeper.
No, he had a little restaurant or store there.
Yeah, I don't remember that either.
Little place of business.
I know there was a place of business up there. Who was that guy? Had that gas station?
Goody.
No, but up further. Now up past the farm up there, up past Kaler's, up past the where it has been the 2-lane again. You know, up past the Methodist Church.
That's where I'm not talking about.
Yeah, well that guy had that little gas
What
station
was
there.
his
We used to
name?
go up there Sundays for hamburgers.
Yeah, what was his name?
I can't remember what his name was, but he was illegally making hamburgers for us on Sundays up there.
That's what.
Back when I was.
Is that where
That's
Pike's,
who I'm talking
is
about.
that where Pike's School was? Up
Yeah.
there across from.
That's where the Pike School
Yeah,
was.
okay.
Across from NCR there.
NCR, yeah.
But I know we used to drive up there when I was 16, and even when we were in Carl's old Model A Ford, we used to go up there, and I didn't have a license yet. We used to jump in his Model A in a rumble seat and go up there and get hamburgers off of him. I can't think of what his name was though.
I can't
He
think.
had a gas station there, but he
Yeah, that's the
he
guy.
had a grill in the back end, and he'd make hamburgers and hot dogs and
That's who
stuff
I'm talking about. That's the guy.
on Sundays, which was illegal.
Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
guy.
I'll have to ask Carl sometime about what his name was. Yeah, well, didn't you have something to do with your uncle or great uncle on moving that toll house?
Well, Dad used to always talk about that he drove the team. Amos Cooper. See, Walt Pfeiffer was married to Amos Cooper's sister, and his first wife's maiden name was Brandt, and the Brandts owned the land. In other words, the Joseph Cooper farm was owned by the Brandt family.
All right, that's where your grandfather was.
That's where my grandfather was. Then,
Joe.
when Elizabeth Brandt Cooper died, then everything was in Amos Cooper's
Uh-huh.
And of course, Edith Piper was Amos Cooper's sister. Now, my dad used to always tell me about when he moved the Tollgate house up to there, about that he drove, it took more than one team of mules, but he drove the one team of mules.
Did you see that at all when they moved that?
Yeah, I thought they pulled that with block and tackle.
Well, they have to have something to pull though.
Well, yeah, that's probably what they did. Yeah.
Now, he often used to say that he'd done that. That was one of the things he talked about a lot.
I don't remember that. I don't remember.
But the land, I'm trying to piece this all together. The land in around Lorandaslunga and the upper end of Lansville went from the Easton name to the Brant name. And that Brant was okay. Up here towards Mount Joy, there was a tobacco man by the name of Brant. Would you remember that? I guess not. Because I would have had to go back before.
Now, how far up and how far over did both of those farms at one time were owned by Amos Cooper, weren't they?
You mean in Lansville?
Where your grandpa lived?
Yeah.
Was that Amos Cooper's?
Well,
then the farmhouse to Amos Cooper's farm was that stone house across from Dick Nisley's.
No.
That was a farmhouse.
Why don't you sit over there, Joe, and I get you on camera. And speak a little louder.
The original Amos or John or Jacob Easton's.
Then we got Russell Joe Cooper on the camera now.
Jacob Easton's original land grant from William Penn, and where he settled, was right where Marshall Klein or the Joseph Cooper farm is now.
Yeah.
Now, they think that the farm and the house, being it was a log deal, was more towards the stream. So it wasn't exactly up where it is now. It was down more towards the stream, or where 283 is now. Then that whole thing burnt down. And I think in 1837 is when they built the brick house there. Now, that whole business got into Brant name somehow or another. I don't know when or how.
Don't ring a bell.
Now that Brant is that's why Brant Boulevard is named Brant Boulevard. Amos Cooper married Elizabeth Brant, and she was the only daughter of this. I don't know what was their first name, but he was a tobacco man. And I guess that's how Amos Cooper got into the tobacco business, because his father-in-law was in the tobacco business. And then it was when Elizabeth Brant Cooper died, well, naturally there was no children, and Amos Cooper was the only survivor, because I think both of her parents were dead. But I think around 36 or 37, the farm where Marshall Klein is was sold to Joseph Cooper, and it come out of Brant name. It either come out of the Brant name or Amos Cooper's name.
Into Joe Cooper.
Into Joseph Cooper.
Well, now, which Joseph Cooper would that be?
Okay, that would have been the Joseph that you would have known, the plumber. Not my grandfather, my uncle. See, my grandfather never owned that farm.
No,
it was young Joe.
That was Amos's then.
It was, I believe, it was Amos's before Joe bought it.
Okay. Now, how about that stone house down there at Amos Cooper?
Okay, now, this is what's been told to me by Amos Herr. Jacob Easton had 4 sons and 3 daughters. Now, we're talking about the guy that came over from Switzerland, the German. Now, as his sons grew up, they built 4 identical homes. The one at the end of Cooper Avenue, the one where Clyde Moomaw lives, or lived, you know what I'm talking about, and the one that's down towards Armstrong there. And the 4th one was where Elam Longnecker lived, across the creek from in Raffalo Township.
Well, which is one you're talking about across from Armstrong? Is that Frank Bear's farm?
No, if you would, if you would be standing there at the country tire barn,
Yeah.
and just look across towards Armstrong, it's that house sitting over there.
Melly Newcomers.
Melly Newcomer, yeah, that's it.
Is that a stone house?
Yeah, sure. It's
Oh.
plastered over.
Oh, it is.
But those homes are all the same. And I remember this, that when we would walk, or when we would ride our bicycle out Holland Street, or it's now called Spooky Nook Road, when you get beyond where the entrance is to Armstrong now, if you would look up in that field there, they have it all terraced. But when I was a kid, that went back in there and there was a sheer rock of stone there. And that's where the Heastons had their own stone quarry. Now you should have remembered.
Yeah, I remember.
You remember that it wasn't a quarry that per se that they dug out. They just went up to it. It was a wall of stone.
Yeah.
They just blasted away. Now the stone for those houses, the Heaston boys.
Stone was above ground.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
above
I remember
ground.
that.
And it just kept blasted away. And if it had kept on going much further, it went into where the old Reading Railroad used to
Yep.
be.
Yep.
Now I found something shocking here the other day. Jacob Heaston had 3 sons and 4 daughters. So I don't know how this works out.
The 4 farms.
Amos Herr told me that he had 4 sons and 3 daughters. No,
Further research.
I got this is something, going through these old. I found Jacob Heaston's last will and testament. This would be something to read this, I tell you. Item 1, he lists all the items. But anyways, in this whole thing here it starts up here, and the fine print goes there, and ends up over here. Now that was quite a last will and testament.
I would think.
Now that tells him that that Jacob had 3 sons and 4 daughters. But Amos Herr always told me that he had 4 sons and 3 daughters. Because the 4 houses are identical. Now that's how the Heastons started. That's how the Heastons had divided that whole land up.
Well, that's his parents worked on Melly Newcomers, or that Heaston farm down there when the Heastons had it. That's where they met. His mother and dad met as hired people on that farm. Yeah, we talked about that in the beginning of the tape. He cut hair down there and worked on the farm.
Well, those farms were all built the same. Now
Yeah,
that one down there is plastered over.
Yeah, I didn't know
But
that.
the stone, now I believe there's some other stone came from the Heaston. The Heastons had their own quarry. You should have remembered that.
Well, I know where them stones were up there in that field.
Yeah, well,
They
now
used to
see,
be up
they got
out of
it
the
all.
ground.
They got it, but it used to be just a wall of stone,
Yeah.
and they go in there and blast away and whatever they needed.
I always under the impression that stone house there was where Mrs. Cooper lived in, Amos's widow. That was a farmhouse.
Well, it was, yes,
there.
yes.
Well, how much land was to that farm?
Well, everything that was towards Church Street and Kaufman Road, where the school's setting today, was on that farm.
Is that right?
Yeah, sure. See,
Off the Kaufman Road.
yeah. Here, while we're talking here, I'll
Correct.
Which Amos Cooper farm? Which farm is that now? You're talking about?
Well, I'm talking about the stone house across from Dick Nisley's.
Yeah.
That was a farmhouse, and he said that farm run all the way over to Kaufman Road.
Kaufman Road is where? Over at
Over to the other side of high school.
Yeah.
Comes
Oh, yeah. In them days, there was nothing there.
Down Church Street.
66 was Jacob Heaston's land grant. It was 300 acres. And I'll start at Landisville, where the Turkey Hill is. Now you go out Church Street towards the golf course to Kaufman Road. You come up Kaufman Road.
To the left. Turn left on Kaufman.
Turn right on Kaufman Road.
Well, where's Kaufman go to the right?
We'll go up past the school.
Have to go
Road.
Yeah.
All right.
Now
All
you
right.
go up there to Spooky Nook Road, or not Spooky Nook Road,
Stony
Stony
Battery.
Battery Road.
Yeah.
And then you come in Stony Battery Road to Broad Street, here.
Yeah.
And then you come up Broad Street, and this past your house, Holland Street, I think was a little bit, it didn't quite come the way it was. I think this went up a little bit more and then come back. This Broad Street here.
Well, it probably went out Prospect Road.
Well, it went up probably to Prospect Road and then come back and went towards Spooky Nook.
You mean
But his-
Broad Street?
Yeah. And then out what they call now Spooky Nook Road, or what we used to call in our time Holland Street. In other words, we went to Spooky Nook on Holland Street. Now you go to Spooky Nook on Spooky Nook Road.
Well,
And then you
Holland Street went straight across there until they built a church. Until they moved the church down.
Yeah, it came up through
That
Texas.
went- That went
Came up
straight
through
across
Texas
there.
over
in
here.
around where your house is, some places where that whole thing came. You know, that come across there. Now I suspect that
That must have been before they built any buildings in the town.
probably, yeah. Well, it had to be because this is back in Jacob Heaston's time. And then out to Spooky Nook, and then in Church Street to place the beginning. Now that was Jacob Heaston's farm. Then when he settled it, that's the way he settled it. Then he had these 3 children, or 3 boys. He had 7 children altogether. Either 3 and 4, whatever. And then he divided that up. His sons divided that original 300 acres up, plus old Jacob stayed farming, which was up in this area here. This area up in here was Jacob's land. Now, Salunga was formed and it was recognized in 1760. That's the time that that's on the plate, and that's the time that they recognize it.
Is that was the name Salunga there?
Yeah, Salunga. That was recognized as Salunga in 1760.
1760.
So before that's when it was probably Utica.
No, 1837, Colonel Hostetter. He was the one that wanted to make it Utica.
Well, you want to change it.
They wanted to change it from Salunga to Utica in 1837. That I can verify. I can prove that.
All right.
Oh, 1837.
1837, yeah.
1760s when it became
1760 is
when it came to Salunga.
when it come to Salunga. In other words, Salunga was a recognized town in 1760. 48 years before Landisville was recognized. 48 years.
And I told him that John Landis, who founded Landisville, was a postmaster.
Postmaster of Salunga.
Salunga.
First postmaster. Now, John Landis, this book is Lancaster Lyrics by David Bachman Landis.
Was that his
This
son?
is grandson.
Grandson. Now, when you said that Heaston Farm right away, it came up Broad Street, went up Holland Street, down to Spooky Nook,
Look it up.
then from where?
And then in Church Street.
Well, that's Church Street going in
Yeah,
into the IGA there.
yes. That whole
And
thing
then-
would be
yeah.
Church Street.
And this whole area would have been one farm,
One farm. Now, when it started out, it was one farm.
and that was a house down there at Cooper Avenue.
No, where Marshall Klein lives now, or the Joseph Cooper farm. That's the original settlement.
Oh, your grandfather's farm.
Right. The original
Right.
settlement.
That's where the old
Now-
Cooper came in.
Right.
I mean, the old Heaston came in.
The old Heaston come in.
All right.
Now, Wilbur tells the story, Wilbur Heaston tells the story, that the first Heaston came here with him and his wife walking out from Lancaster, carrying everything they owned on their backs, plus the rake and shovel, whatever, everything they owned to carry. But I don't believe really they did. I believe they come out in a wagon and
Probably.
mules, horses, or oxen, or whatever. And then they built a farmhouse down there where the Joseph Cooper farm or the Marshall Klein farm is right now. Now, they didn't build that house. That house was built in 1837 by a Heaston. You see, the third generation of Heastons from Jacob fathered 16 children. The Heastons always had large families.
Well, then, that was the original Heaston Then how did he get these other farms?
Well, they were his sons.
In other words, then he got land grants from William Penn for them other farms.
No, he owned it. He owned the land
Oh,
grant.
he did own
See,
it. He owned all that land.
Right.
Even though he was on the Joe Cooper farm there, he still owned all that land.
He owned all the land.
Then he designated that land to his 4 sons.
As his 4 sons became of age and they wanted to get married and go on
Then
their
they
own,
built them homes and
he
took
built
over
those
that,
homes.
that part of the land.
But the sticker of this whole thing, which is the Eli Longenecker farm.
Elam Longenecker.
Or Elam Longenecker farm.
Yeah, that wouldn't be in it.
Well, I find this hard to believe, but they say that was a Heaston farm. Now, one of these times I'll run across proof of that. I didn't really.
Yeah, I want to keep that for a record. I wrote that down.
Well, it sounds like it could have been. Maybe they owned a parcel over in around there too, you know.
Now the Scotts, Alexander Scott, was the Frank Bear farm, and then anything where the dividing line is someplace up here was Joshua Scott, and they owned it all from Broad Street or Heaston's towards the creek.
Going towards Chickies Creek.
Going towards Chickies Creek.
Including Pipers and Bears.
Oh yeah.
Surfies, that whole outfit.
Yes.
Maybe Frank Bear, Frank Eshelman too.
No, they stayed on this side of the.
Yeah, Frank Eshelman was probably fell into the Heaston.
Yeah, 60. Frank Eshelman. No.
Didn't it?
No, that was.
Because Elam Longenecker's
67.
Elam Longenecker's farm would be out that way. It's across a creek from Frank
Oh,
Eshelman.
wait, 87. Thomas Griffiths in trust for Isaac Norris. Now that went the whole way, and he the original patent was December 1733. Was the original patent, and then that went the whole way from somewhere around Casey's there somehow or another. I don't know just how that was, but in there someplace out on Shank Road, it was a dividing line where Alexander Scott's land stopped and the other guy, which is 87, well, Thomas Griffith. Now, Joshua Scott was supposed to be laid out the first town of Salunga. He donated the 2 lots for Salunga, which probably where you have your house today. That's why I say you're probably on one of the. If you would take your deeds back the whole way, I'll bet you $1 you will come up with Joshua Scott.